This song is called Will I Wake Up. It was released as a single in 2020, and it will also be on my forthcoming album, Get Right, in 2022.
Going home tomorrow, I could hold your will to mine. You always understand it, but you can't hide yourself too low. Will I wake up falling in your eyes? I'll take the weight. My hands are tired of holding all the stars in line. I'll take the weight till I can't stand. Will my hands surround you? I could hold your heart to mine. Smile into the darkness until it starts to open wide. Will I wake up crying in your arms? Please take the weight. My body's tired of screaming, everything is fine. I'll take the weight. I understand.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Rita Alfaro, the music librarian for Fort Worth Public Library, and you're joining us for Off the Record, our interview series with our Amplify 817 artists. And today we are talking to Court Hoang. Hi, Court.
Hi.
And his bassist, Joseph Fisher Schramm, correct?
Yes.
Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're really excited about this. So if you guys wouldn't mind introducing yourselves to our audience who may be unfamiliar with you and your amazing music.
Yeah, so my name is Court, last name is Hoang. I am a kind of indie folk pop rock musician. I guess probably closer to rock than anything else at this point. This is Joseph, he's my producer and bassist, and all-around musical genius who supports me behind the scenes and on stage as well.
That is awesome. So, first things first, I want to ask about what's your experience with the music scene here in Fort Worth? How did you kind of fall into that? And in general, how did you fall into being a performer?
Yeah. So I started performing in Austin in 2011 professionally, and then moved to North Texas in 2013. Kind of took a break while I got married and started having kids, and then started getting back into it, I think around like 2016. And that's when I met Joseph. We played a show together because he's also a musician. And we played that show and then decided like, hey, what if we just like played some more shows together, and we just kept doing it. And after a while, developed kind of a working relationship there. As far as the Fort Worth scene, so I started in Arlington because that's where I moved when I first moved up here. I moved to Fort Worth in 2017 and just kind of started looking for more fun things to do. I played bass for a couple of bands. Started doing more of my own thing, putting together my band. I don't know, just kind of picking up shows where we can. I have applied for like a couple of grants. I think there was one, like the Sounds of Resilience thing that the Bass Foundation started, so I did that one. And then I heard about the Amplify team and decided to submit my music there, and y'all were kind enough to pick it up. Yeah, and these days, you know, I'm trying not to take too many shows just because of COVID, and playing the fun ones and the ones that I feel like are a little bit safer. And I would say that's probably about it. I don't know. Anything to add?
Not at the moment.
Do you want to talk about your music experience here in Fort Worth and how you sort of fell into it?
Sure. I started playing with my first rock band whenever I was 15. Before then, I was in the Fort Worth Youth Orchestra as a wee lad, you know. And so I've been playing around here since I was too small to even know what I was doing. But there's so many great venues. Whenever I was in the metal scene, we would play like Tomcats a good amount.
Yeah.
Back whenever the Rail Club was around, you know.
Like, shout out to Tomcats. I don't think we've ever mentioned them on the show, but they are definitely a venue.
Yeah, they're so cool.
Yeah, small venue. I've seen a great Japanese punk rock performance there, and then I've also seen a wrestler talk about his life there. So yeah, interesting, interesting venue.
And it's also just been nice to spend more time in the city, because once he and I started working together more, I've been hanging out around his place. I live in Arlington, but it's such a nice city.
Yeah.
I just like Fort Worth a lot.
Yeah, Fort Worth is a good city, and it's definitely on the grow. What do you guys think about the scene and how it's changed over the years and how it's growing?
Yeah, so, you know, it was hard for me to leave Austin. I'll start with that because, you know, Austin being, you know, purported as this live music capital of the world and all this good stuff. One of the things I noticed, because I would come back and play shows in Austin occasionally, just to kind of touch base with fans and other musicians that I had been working with. You know, I've seen so many musicians, you know, having to move out of the city, you know, having to work 2-3 jobs to make ends meet in addition to trying to be a musician. And, you know, it's just not as sustainable of a city for working musicians as it used to be. And when we were making a decision about whether to move to Dallas, move to Fort Worth, or move back to Austin, you know, the more I thought about it and the more I looked at it, Fort Worth seems like it is definitely the most hospitable for working musicians of the 3 cities, in my opinion. There may not be quite as many venues, but where there are venues, there are, you know, plenty of opportunities and plenty of paid opportunities as well. And then, of course, you still have access to the scene in Dallas and in Denton. But I think watching it change, I've seen how much emphasis and how much priority the city places on the arts. And that was one of the things that drew me to Fort Worth in the first place. And I've only seen that continue to grow the longer that I've been here, which is really exciting, especially with, you know, programs like Amplify and with, you know, like the Sounds of Resilience grant, and, you know, seeing all the wonderful performances that like Fort Worth Symphony Orchestra does. And I mean, there's just a lot of emphasis, not just on, you know, the quote unquote fine arts, but on, you know, community-based art as well. And that's a huge thing for me, is that, you know, in Dallas, no offense to any Dallasites, you know, it's the culture that you can buy that you tend to see. And in Fort Worth, I feel like it's the culture from, you know, just real people and that I love, and it's not necessarily something that is curated for any specific audience in terms of like socioeconomic class or in terms of race or any of those kinds of things. It's just like, come as you are, we will take you, and we want to celebrate the work that you do, if it's good.
Absolutely. Even if it's not good. I mean, there's not that it's not good, but it's, people are growing and people are learning.
Yeah,
and I think there's a really great close-knit community here in Fort Worth where people are trying to help each other out and bring each other up and just make these connections and try to like work with each other. And I think that's what makes this community here in Fort Worth like really, really unique. It's not just, you're not just thrown to the dogs. There's plenty of people out there who are helping you from several aspects, I think, of the music
Absolutely,
thing.
yeah.
And not even just like booking gigs or performances, but either helping you with your website or helping you get your merch out or helping you on your tour or whatever it is that you
And
need.
engineering, production, all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Even like songwriting collaborations. There's a lot of opportunity, and the people that I've met they're hungry, to be doing it. Not just in terms of like making money or even necessarily making a name for themselves. They're doing it because they love it, And I'm finally in a place where I've returned to that, after having done the kind of commercial thing for so long in Austin and then trying to do it again in DFW and feeling like it just wasn't feeling right, it didn't sit right with me, and now feeling like I'm going to make the music I want to make because I want to make good music and not because I want to sell it or because, any specific things. And then, lo and behold, more opportunities come about as a result of that because people see the enthusiasm and the passion that you put into what you do, and in a place like Fort Worth, at least, they want to help support that, and they want to help provide more opportunities for you to do that, which is amazing.
Absolutely. And I think that's something we're trying to do with Amplify 817. It initially started as this music streaming service, and now we're trying to kind of expand that brand and meet people who are willing to help others and kind of make this great group and big collaboration with others and try to provide resources, because we're a library program, and that's what we do, is provide information and resources when we're at the core of it. So we're hoping we're doing that, hopefully, or we're at least getting there as we approach our 2-year anniversary. But I do want to ask, one of our questions is, are you a library user? And are you a library user?
Oh yeah, 100%. We go to, oh boy, I'd say we go to the library, and we go to like 3 or 4 different branches at least once a week, I think. We go to Central a lot, downtown, because my kids love to park in the garage and they like to ride on the elevator, and we'll get some books there, and then we go to the Southwest Regional Branch. I've been here a couple of times, and then the new youth library, the Rebbe Carey, is like amazing.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're avid library users. Probably my kids more than I am, but they're too young to check out books themselves, so I go with them.
Yeah, and I always tell people, definitely check out the different branches that we have. That's what we've been doing here with our Amplify series, is trying to highlight the different branches that we have. But every branch has its own staff, its own like unique sort of books, information that they have, and everybody's just really different. It's a different demographic everywhere you go, so I always encourage people to check out all the different locations. So yeah, because you're going to find something different every time.
And a lot of great resources too.
Absolutely. So I do want to talk a little bit about your music, because that's what we're here for. Tell us a little bit about your inspiration for the song that you've performed for us today.
So Break was one of the later songs I wrote for the album. It's hard because I call it an album because there's a concept to it, but there's actually only 6 tracks. So
That counts as an album.
It's an EP. So the album is called Make or Break, and it's a collection of songs all about kind of love in different forms, but probably focusing a lot on kind of romantic love. The first song is a song I wrote for my brother's wedding. The second one is one that I wrote for my cousin's wedding. The third one is one I wrote for my wedding that we danced our first dance to. And then the second half is kind of more about the kind of the darker side when things start kind of falling apart. So you can kind of look at the album as sort of a relationship that sort of blooms and withers over time. Yeah. I'm very happily married, though. I just want to mention. So Break kind of comes at that point where you know that the relationship is failing, and you know that it's going to fail, but you're not quite ready to let go. So there's kind of this silent resentment building in both parties, and this sort of negativity that there's just kind of there under the surface, but no one's willing to say it out loud. Because in your deepest heart of hearts, you do still hope that there is some way that you can keep it together, even though the writing's kind of on the wall.
Yeah.
So.
It's very beautiful. Loved hearing it. It's definitely got a lot of emotion with it. Very straightforward singer-songwriter sort of thing. Absolutely love it. We love the album. That's why we chose you for Amplify.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Time spent waiting for now, but you can't hate me now, not out loud. Taste the salt on my eyes. Say your faults are lies, only lies. Caught in something we've already lost. Turn your eyes away, I'll be your loss. If you stay, I pray this won't break. Bars, keep it on. The pain inside and the joy, all the joy. You waste your time waiting for more. You wear it well, don't you cry. Oh, I am caught in something we've already lost. Turn your eyes away, I'll be your loss. If you stay, this won't break.
Okay, so any other things that we might have missed or that you'd like to talk about? I know you have a new album coming out.
I do have a new album coming out. It's called Get Right, and it will be released in probably late spring. It's big. Like, the longer I do this, the bigger things tend to get in terms of the number of people I involve. And that's really important to me, actually, as far as community development, but as far as also, providing artists an opportunity to work. I don't let people work for me for free. So if I can't afford to pay people, then I can't afford to do it. That's kind of my mentality, which I think that's kind of where I have to start. So involving more and more people as, you know, I'm able to have the resources to do that has become kind of a dream come true. And Amplify is you know, one of the sources in terms of, like, you know, that licensing revenue that's helpful. And then of course the grant that I got in 2020 was amazingly helpful to kickstart the recording process for this. So we started this album back in 2020. So it's been a full year of production, and it'll be another probably 4 or 5 months. And you know, that kind of goes back to this idea of I'm not interested in making things to churn them out and get them out so that I can make money. I'm interested in making the best thing that I can at the time. It's sort of like, I think Joseph says, it's kind of like a snapshot of like where you are in your musical development, in your career at that time. So yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but you are going to give it the best work that you possibly can. And the album itself, you know, conceptually is you know, the last couple of years have been rough. So we're all kind of on this train of like going inward a little bit and trying to figure out, okay, how do we get right, you know? And it's kind of short for this idea of like get right or get left, like get right or get left behind. So like if you don't get your stuff together, you know, we're gonna have to move on without you. The world will move on without you. So like on a personal level, on a community level, on a global level, you know, it's kind of about kind of getting ourselves together, kind of getting right, you know.
Yeah, and that's a good lesson for everyone as we're changing, as times are changing, as we're growing, as we're adapting to everything. I think that's a great album
Well, thanks,
to
yeah.
have for
If I
that.
could comment on some of the, like working with him on it. So some of these songs were years old by the time
10
when
years,
I started playing
10
together.
or more, yeah.
And so going from playing them just as a solo acoustic guitarist to whenever the band came in and started playing them to whenever you started putting them onto this album, I remember at one point, because we saw each other maybe once from last February to last December or something,
Yeah.
you know, as things were so tense.
Yeah.
But going back and forth working on stuff, he said that this was the most fun that he's ever had working on something since at least he and I started together.
Absolutely.
You were just letting the music be what it wanted to be and not stressing about any of the,
Yeah.
you know, the logistical constraints.
Well, and you know, trying to get it out the door again, you know, just so I can sell it. It's been, yeah. I feel like, you know, if there's any silver lining to a global pandemic, it's that, you know, I was forced to really look inward, not just as, you know, as a person, but also as an artist, and sort of saying, you know, what does it mean to make music in this world, you know, and what value does the music have? Like, if it's just entertainment, then that's great, you know, people need to be entertained. If it's something with a message, then that's great, you know, but it's sort of like, you know, I kind of felt like I had to make a decision about what I stand for as a musician and how that comes through in the music that I make. And it's so much more fun when you're not thinking like, is this marketable? It's way more fun, I have to say. And I think the end product ends up being better. So, but on this one, you know, between, I don't know, like maybe a dozen string players, and I've got, you know, my drummer, of course, plays multiple percussion instruments, and then tons and tons and tons of voices. You know, it's like I said, it's big, and it feels good to be able to make something like that without thinking like, how does that translate to a live show? Because like I'm not playing live shows right now, you know? So we're approaching the time that I need to start thinking about that more. He insists that we're going to bring a string ensemble with us.
Why
wherever
not?
we go.
If you can find there's plenty. Yeah, there's plenty of people out there who would definitely want to do it. Again, but though the payment thing, we do encourage people to ask for fair payment for stuff. We try not to, you know, especially when we do these live shows, tell people like, don't undercharge us, you know.
Imagine I were a stranger. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what I tell people.
Yeah,
What would you
exactly.
charge me if you didn't know me?
Yeah, because a lot of people will give you that friend rate or just like, nah, it's this favor, and you know, it's more than that, and it is. I don't want to call it a product, but you know, it is your time and effort that you're doing and putting a part of that. So for any future musicians or people who want to get out there who are watching, definitely your time is money. You know, it is worth, you know, payment.
Yeah. Well, I had an uncle. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's a trade like anything else. People glorify art, as I think we should to some extent, but it's still a trade, so you need to respect it as such.
Absolutely.
The suffering artist trope is total BS. Just so you know, you don't have to suffer to be an artist.
We want you to eat
You
and
can
pay your
thrive.
rent.
Actually, you can thrive.
You can sleep.
Yeah, my uncle was working at a car dealership, and my dad came to him and said, like, what kind of a deal can you make for me? And he said, none. And he said, what? I'm your brother. And he said, if I can't sell to you at full price, how in the heck am I going to sell to a stranger at full price? You know? So I try to keep that in mind when I'm working with folks. Yeah, no free lunch.
Yeah, exactly. So is there any other advice that you might have for upcoming musicians or people who want to get into the scene a little bit more?
Oh boy. Well, if you want to get into the scene, go to shows. Go support artists. Find artists you love and meet them. You know, go talk to them, follow on social media, and have conversations with them. Like, give them love, comment on their posts, send them direct messages. And then when the time comes, when you want to open for them, when you want to put together a show, you already know them, and they're down. You know, a good example, Meech Pango has been like one of my biggest local influences. I was thinking the other day, like, do I really miss hearing live music? And then I heard their last album. I put it on, you know, on the speakers at home, and I was just listening. I was like, these guys make me miss going to see live music specifically, you know, and everyone's got that band. And if you don't have that band, go to shows and you'll find that band. I promise. They're out there. There is so much talent in this city, in DFW at large, you know. But, you know, even just knowing the guys in Meech Pango has provided a lot of opportunity for me to like play certain types of shows, to meet other types of people and do, you know, certain types of interviews and things like that. And it's not about what you can get from these people. It's really just about forming relationships with them, because when you like people, you want to help them. And I have, you know, I'm fortunate that I've been able to help them in some ways, and I'm fortunate they've been able to help me. And you know, those relationships continue if you foster them and if you nurture them and you let them grow. But if you're coming into it from a perspective of, you know, what's in it for me, then you're not as good at hiding it as you think you are. Like, we can tell when you come to us and you're just trying to network. If you want to build community and if you want to build relationships, then do it. You know, go and do it. As far as general advice in terms of like songwriting and musicianship, you're not practicing enough. And this is speaking as someone who is not practicing enough. I don't either. And in terms of writing music, write what's in your heart. Don't write what you think anyone else wants to hear. So, what about you? I'm sure you've got advice.
What, me with an opinion? Never. So going with a comment on community, I'm a big Henry Rollins fan. Yes. And so whenever he talks about his youth with him and Ian Mackay, he was such a conservationist of like show posters, anything that he could find, because with community, it is yours to have and it is yours to lose. So you got to take your friends, your loved ones, the artists that you like seriously in that extent as well. And not just people, you know. You got to respect the places that you go. No one wants to vandalize a bar because then you can't go back.
Exactly.
And then in terms of an individual's feeling, there are going to be times that you, if you make art, you're looking for something that hasn't been made yet, and you should be excited to do that. There are times that you're going to be excited to hear the music that you wrote, and that's a good thing. Don't feel like that's vain. It's proud, but it's not prideful.
Yeah.
That's true.
I am vain.
Yeah. You should love what you're creating though, and what you're doing and what you're putting out.
Yes.
'Cause if you
How is
don't-
anyone else going to?
Exactly. And then it just kind of takes away a little bit of that authenticity if you're just churning out something, I guess, to make money. It's not coming from your soul.
I played enough cover shows and enough weddings to know that if you don't love the music you're playing, whether or not you wrote it, then you're not putting on a good show. You're not putting on a good performance. So.
Well, I want to end this with asking if there's any other, you mentioned Meech Pango, who are a really awesome band if you guys haven't heard them, wonderful local band, but any other artists that you want to mention, give a shout out to?
Ooh, I mean, like all the Amplify artists for sure. David Tribble was one of like the first kind of good buddies I met. He was super supportive. I just met Denver Williams, and Peter Warenga is a producer and engineer who kind of works with him a little bit, and drummer, I should say. And I don't know, like everyone here is just super supportive. I have not met anyone that I just, Trauma Ray for sure, big fans. They put on a heck of a show. I don't know, it's everyone, it's really everyone. I don't care what kind of music you make, like Torn Up, absolutely. I don't care what kind of music you make. If your heart is in it, I see that, and I see you, and I love what you're doing, and we can collab if you wanna. So.
Anyone you want to mention from the area that you can maybe think of? No pressure.
Well, I mean, there's just so many people, like you said. Cutthroat Finch is
Oh, yeah.
super cool. Mean Motor Scooter is really fun. Like some of my Arlington boys, like Frio Trio or ALG.
Yeah.
We're playing a show with them in December.
Awesome.
So that'll be
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right, yeah.
We shouldn't.
Abel Delilah, big fan.
Oh, yeah, awesome.
Artemis Funk. Yeah, I mean, there's just a million. I don't know.
So go out there and listen to music. You can start with Amplify 817, but feel free to go beyond that. I think we're definitely a starter. I like to think of it as a starter kit. We're somewhere to begin, and then you can just sort of branch off from
And
there.
find the venues too. The venues are huge.
Yeah.
You
There's
know?
so many great venues. Shout out to all of our favorite venues. There's way too many to name.
I know. I was gonna start, and I was like, no. It's
Go in
okay.
alphabetical order.
They're there. Yeah.
But yeah, there's some great venues. Just look them up.
This song is called Lights Are Burning. It will also be on my forthcoming album called Get Right in 2022.
It was a long night, eyes open wide, try as I might, hoping to hear something call out of sight. It's been a long day, my head understands, but I feel afraid. I keep looking back, but I can't see your face. So take this broken jar and fill it up with something we've all got, but don't have enough of. And turn away from things that hurt too much, that want you to grow up just like the rest of us. So just let your guard down. The things that would hurt you won't come now, and you couldn't save yourself from them anyhow. And all those songs we sing to save ourselves, the ones we sing so well, when everything goes to hell, will they have a story left to tell? If nobody else will, how can we lie down and be still? Why keep our hands at our sides while it spills? And all of the ground filled, fighting for nothing except the thrill. You can't see the line when you're king of the kill. Lights are burning in their broken eyes, coming up slowly until it's over.
thank you guys so much for doing this interview with me and the performance with us. We really, really appreciate it. And thank you guys for tuning in.